Well, talk to me a little bit about what it's like going through this system for the second time.
Yeah, being in the system for a second year now, it's been a lot easier for me just to help out young guys in the room or new guys in the offense, whatever it may be. And then kind of being in year 2 of it, it's like you got a new sense of confidence. You see where we ended last year in the bowl game, kind of had a lot of explosive players doing a lot of good things to offense. So having that under our belt now just has a lot of confidence going into year 2.
Tell me, you've been in a few systems. What's this system been like integrating into what you need to do as a quarterback?
Yeah, I think it's a really quarterback-friendly system. Changing plays when you need to get out of certain situations, checking routes, whatever it may be, just to get you in the right situation at the time. Longo's done a great job of, helping me catch up to speed. Guys like Will, the O-line, everybody has just helped me, catch up to speed and, help me learn it. So I'm glad for those guys that they got me right with that.
You comfortable now?
Oh, yeah.
Being in a new environment?
No doubt, yeah. This is my 4th OC, so I'm kind of used to.
But how about the community's different, though?
Yeah, it is different, for sure. This is a really good culture. Obviously, Wisconsin, you're going to have guys that, go to work every single day. The work ethic is, unbelievable from, staff down to the players, including nutritionists, down to the guys in the training room. So, it's unbelievable culture.
Yeah, I know you guys do a lot when you talk quarterback, wide receiver, to kind of bring you guys together. What are some of the things you guys wanted to do, just whether it's away from the field or on the field to build that chemistry?
Yeah, the biggest thing is timing and communication, understanding each other. We've, made it account for just to come in here in the summer, get that timing down, throwing and catching. Also we'll go watch film all together, watch 7-on-7 from practice. So just little stuff like that just to get on the same page.
Talk to me about some of the other weapons at that position.
Yeah, we got a lot of guys in the receiver room that are going to make a lot of plays for us this year. Guys like Bryson Green, big body guys that can go up and make jump ball plays. And obviously got guys on the side like myself and a kid named Tresh Cookahona that I think it's going to turn a lot of heads this year. But from top to bottom, I just think we have so much depth in that room. And like I said, it kind of all goes back to that confidence. So we got a lot of guys that were here last year that are going to just only grow from what they did last year and do some big things for us this year.
How about your big guys up front?
Yeah, those guys are impressive. You got 6'8" tackles, Riley and Jack, and you got the beast inside, Jake, Renfro, and both Joes. So, I'm glad they're blocking for me. I'll say that.
Yeah. When you start to think about, some of the keys for this offense to be successful, not just for you as a quarterback, but an offense as a whole, to be able to get this team to where you want it to be, what comes to mind?
Yeah, just being on the same page with everybody. Communication is the biggest thing. Coming into an offense that, they've already gotten going to year 2. They got the stuff down that they didn't necessarily have last year. So I have to get caught up to speed with that. And, it's been good. So, just little stuff like communication and getting each other right and making sure we're all on the same page.
It's fun to watch you guys, receivers and corners, going against each other. Today, you kind of get after it a little bit. Yeah. A lot of competition there and a lot of trash talking, I'm guessing.
Coach Fickell always tells us compete in everything you do. So obviously on the field, we're going to compete every chance we get to go at it. I love going to battle with those guys every day because I know they're only preparing me for Saturdays. And if they're giving me their best shot every day, Saturday is going to be a lot more easy. So it's good.
Have you seen any differences to the defense from year 1 to year 2?
I think kind of similar to the offense. There's a lot more confidence in that defensive back room. One guy that I kind of think sticks out to me just right off the head is Nazir Forkareem. He's a guy that came in last year, first into the system, kind of got through into that fire in a sense. And this obviously, you could just see it in his eyes every day, the way he trained and the way he did spring ball and kind of just had that lead right into fall camp. I think he's going to be a lot bigger, a lot better this year for us.
Well, guys, have a great season. Stay healthy.
Appreciate it.
Wisconsin adding some length and speed to their defense through the portal in the offseason. The linebacker room in particular looks quite a bit different than it did a year ago. Leon Lowry, Jaheim Thomas have played a lot of football, and Tackett Curtis got some time as a true freshman at USC before arriving here to Madison. Mike Tressel called him a Wisconsin type of dude, a football junkie, which is, I know, what you like to see here with the defensive coordinator. And Coach, let's start with some of these new faces, because you obviously were looking for something in the offseason. What were you looking for? What did you find? And what have you learned about these guys in camp so far?
Yeah, we were looking for some speed, some length, but also guys that fit flawlessly into our locker room. And I think that's the key when you're bringing in new faces, is they have to fit well with the group that you already have. So we did get some length and some athleticism that we're really excited about, but a humble group of guys that love football that fit in perfect.
It's wild because I think, and you just said it, the season's going to be here before you know it. You're in the dog days of camp, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's going to be the season opener. What are the question marks that you still want to have answered between now and then?
Probably the biggest thing is which of the twos are 1Bs. What does that mean? Twos, you really don't want to put on the field on Saturday. 1Bs, you want to rotate them in. You're really comfortable with it, and that keeps everybody fresh. So that's probably the biggest question right now, is which of those twos are truly ready to roll 50%.
Adjustments you make on defense from year one of the program to year two?
There's a few more wrinkles that you can put in that guys can adjust to, right? Year one, you can put in a whole bunch in your playbook, but you're very concerned, hey, do they really know all the adjustments to everything? And then the second thing is having guys like Hunter Wohler, Jake Chaney, who truly understand and can be problem solvers on the field. That's a big difference, too.
Was that any different than year one to year two in Cincinnati?
Not really, although the biggest difference at Cincinnati was we basically had a whole new defense. So here we have a bunch of leaders that are coming back. So it is guys that were already big-time players for us last year, but now they understand it inside and out.
You mentioned Jake Chaney and Hunter Wohler. What have you asked from them since you've come in, and what have you seen from them, especially from a leadership standpoint?
Yeah, I think the leadership is completely different in terms of those guys really hold their teammates accountable. And it's so much better when the players hold each other accountable than the coaches get involved in that. That is so much better. The other thing is we've challenged them to be problem solvers. We've actually put them in positions to see some things that they haven't seen during practice or on film, and have them communicate and be the problem solvers, because we weren't great in opening scripts last year, and that's when you see the stuff you haven't seen in practice. So we've put that on their plates, and they've done well.
Speaking of things you haven't seen, as you studied the new 4 schools coming in, any difference in the style of football?
Yeah, there is. I think that the consistent mindset of tempo, I think the consistent mindset of taking more shots, I think there's more shots probably being taken. But to be honest, there is talent in the original Big Ten. There's talent in the new schools. The thing that you have now is, there's a couple more weeks every year that it's all 5 stars out there.
Yeah, pretty wild. You've got Alabama at home, you get a bye week, and then you go to play at USC. I loved what you said the other day about you guys really focusing on trying to be the best at the new stuff. Some of that new stuff, the coach-to-player communication in-game and the tablets. Talk to us about kind of what the philosophy is there and what you think that's going to be like, the new adjustment. Yeah,
the bottom line is there's nobody who's done this before. So everybody's going to adapt, but we want to be prepared to be the best at it of the new guys, right? We're all new in this situation. We feel really good about the guys at the other end of the microphone being able to take the information and pass it on. Whether it's Jake Chaney or it's Hunter Wohler that has that headset in, we feel really good that we can communicate, and that communication will be spread across, the whole network. I love our veteran coaching staff. I think that we can really take advantage of the iPads because we have some really smart, really good coaches right across the board on defense.
Final scrimmage today, what's left undone between now and the opener?
Well, first of all, let's make sure we're 100% physically and mentally when it's time to play football. We get after these guys pretty hard. They go hard right up to this point. We want to make sure physically and mentally they're ready to go. We will probably have some practices where we're thinking about some opponents as opposed to our offense every single day, which is nice. It's fresh for the guys. But, you're in the dog days, and all of a sudden you look at the calendar, and it's like, whoa, it's game week.
Coach, appreciate your time.
Absolutely, Coach. Appreciate it.
Luke Fickell entering year 2 here in Madison, and impressive to look back at the jump made between his first and second seasons in Cincinnati. 7 more wins, and that was the start of a historic run. Bearcats got to the CFP in 2021, the only Group of 5 program to ever make the 4-team playoff. And the head coach of the Badgers joining us now following practice. Coach, great to see you. And, you look back, it probably seems like a long time ago, year 1 and year 2 at Cincinnati. But what is the difference when you come in and take over a program that has allowed you to kind of make that jump? And do you feel like you're going to see the same thing this year?
You hope so? Yeah. I mean, I know this. I know I feel better, and I think we feel better about where we are. And I think there's a lot of things in year 1 that you think you know, but you don't know. And so there's a lot of adjustments, whether, there's adjustments we made in year one at Cincinnati to year two. There's different adjustments we made in year one to year two here. And we envision that they all pay off like that, but the proof is in the pudding. And, that's what we're coming up on here real soon. But I know this, as a whole, as a staff and as a team, a leadership group, we talk. We do feel really good about where we are, how much we know about each other, and what the expectations look like.
What have you learned about being the head coach at Wisconsin, specifically from year one to year two?
Well, obviously there's always pressure, and there's an expectation about not just on wins, but on how you do things. And I think that for me, that was a big deal. I've wanted to study Coach Alvarez and talk with Coach Alvarez and learn as much as I possibly can, because I think there's so many things that you can learn from. Look, when I went to Cincinnati, I tried to model some things off of the way they had done their basketball program. They had just been so successful, and I tried to find out what was it that had done all the way back from Bob Huggins and on, and so in a lot of ways here, I've kind of tried to really dive in to try to figure those things out as well. And as many of those people, Coach Alvarez obviously being the biggest one, so that there's differences, and how do we adjust and adapt who we are and what we want to do by the ways that they've been successful here, and still be able to put our own twist.
A year ago, we're sitting here and we're talking about the air raid offense, and you come from a defensive background, obviously. What have you learned about the way you're playing offense, and what is your input in the offense?
Oh, I mean, little, but in the way that which we go about things more, right? It's not specific on plays. It's not specific on just running or throwing. But more about how we go about our business, right? I mean, is there the physicality? Is there the physical play that no matter how many times you run the football that you got to make sure you have? And so, but me learning a lot more about it, and I think even the evolution of our offense, I don't say any one offense, but I think in particular our offense was what I'd always kind of thought it was going to have to be, right? Whatever it was in year one, it was going to continue to develop and grow, and that's all I cared about, right? Talking with Phil beforehand and trying not to meddle too much in year one, but understanding that, hey, we need to figure some of these things out about what's not only going to be successful here, but what's going to be successful in our league. And I really do love the evolution of some of the things that we have done and continue to do with where we are offensively.
What are some of those things?
I think just being more creative and more creative in the run game. I think the pass game, by nature in that system, right, they have some creativity. They change up things. I think by nature in the run game, they've always wanted to be simple. And I think our guys in particular, one of the things you learn about here, our O-line wants to be challenged. They don't want to hear simple. That's not what is in their minds, but has always been successful here. And not saying that you mean you're going to run 30 new run plays, but our ability to put a little bit more on those guys, to be more creative in the way that which we run the football and some of the things we do, I think has shown a lot through spring football and especially in fall camp. And that's why I keep saying I think our defense is pretty well prepared from all the different things they're going to see this entire year because of some of the evolution in what our offense has done this fall camp.
Part of the preparation, I think, for defense, and I've heard Mike Tressel say that when he talks to recruits, he talks about how great it is to come play in a program where the head coach comes from, a defensive mindset. And part of that is the tackling. And I think that's one of the things that you guys do more of here than maybe in other camps and other stops. So what is the philosophy around that and making sure that they're getting in those live tackles?
Yeah. Well, it starts with last year we didn't, and we had talked about this, and it really, I think, cost us. And not to say, well, if we would have tackled, we'd have been better. But I think if we'd have tackled earlier and done it last spring and last fall, we'd have known some things that we had to work a lot more on. And we didn't find those things out. So that was a little bit of an evolution. I realize I don't need to get too far away from what I truly believe in sometimes, even though the game is continuing to evolve. But I think it's just more of a mentality, too. It's understanding that even the offensive guys ought to understand how important it is for them to be tackled and for them to have opportunities to break tackles and especially for ball security. So I think as a philosophy, I think it's been something that's got to be a little bit more a part of our culture. And I think our guys have really kind of embraced that through spring football. And we may have used that as an advantage in some ways of talking about maybe some that don't and how that's got to be a competitive advantage for us.
How has recruiting changed for you now that Wisconsin's home?
Yeah.
2 years now.
Well, those are some of the things I didn't quite understand, right? I thought that we would be a 350-mile radius. I thought we'd be a Big Ten footprint. And I don't want to say because the Big Ten has grown and gone coast to coast, I didn't recognize how strong the logo, how strong it was across the country. So we had 13 different states represented in our recruiting class last year. Probably we'll have 10 represented in this coming one. We're more comfortable understanding our own state to start with, but also what we can kind of draw to as well. I think that's unique, and Coach, you've done it in a lot of different places, and in each place you have to try to figure out what really draws there and where can you invest some of that time to be your best players. And we all got to balance, but I think that was something I had to learn, and you couldn't just learn it through the statistics and things like that. I had to actually see it.
You mentioned coast to coast. What's your impression been of the 4 new schools on video?
It's going to be different, and just off the top, I mean, defensively, you would say, well, those schools come in as offensive schools, right? I mean, whether it's Washington from last year, USC. I think some of the things you see defensively, you see a different aggression. You see some more zero coverage. You see some things that I don't just think were as normal in the Big Ten. Everybody wants to talk about the offenses and things like that. I think that there's just sometimes a little bit of a different mentality from what they will bring in. But I know this. It's great to talk about. It's daunting as a coach sometimes when you look at it. But when you really sit down with your players, it's really exciting for them. Just the recognition and the ability to kind of broaden and challenge themselves and go coast to coast.
Yeah, well, you have some big-time games on your schedule starting. I know you're not looking past week 1, but we're in the media, so we can do that. Week 3, Alabama coming to town. Just what's unique about that opportunity?
Well, obviously it's Alabama, and it doesn't change just because Coach Saban isn't there. But you can go 2 different ways, right? I mean, how do you embrace that? And for us, more than anything, even the start of camp, like, we kind of had a different mode. We've got to be rolling on the 30th because we've got to find out where we are in week 3. And I'm not saying that last year we didn't want to find out where we were in week 2 or going to Washington State, but I'm talking about really find out who you are and what you're made of. Not that I'm not testing the first couple, but really I think that 3rd week is going to tell us a lot of things about what progress looks like within our program. And, that's what's exciting. I think our guys have kind of taken that from the offseason and taken that into this fall camp and used it as a challenge to them, because we're always looking for ways to motivate. They're 18 to 22, right? There's a million different distractions, and the ability to make sure they understand and recognize where our measuring sticks and how we're going to measure ourselves, it's coming up pretty quick.
Yeah, I will say this far into fall camp, the energy out there today was impressive to me. You could feel it. So we appreciate your time.
I appreciate that.
Best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
There's been a lot of attention around the change in philosophy offensively here in Wisconsin since Luke Fickell took over the program. They're used to running the ball around here, but offensive coordinator Phil Longo, he comes from the air raid background, and last year there was a lot more passing, over 53%. Coach, great to be with you and awesome to see you guys practice today. I know we're getting closer to the season. What have you learned about this team, and what did you take from last year's experience? Throwing a lot more than Wisconsin teams have in the past. What have you learned, and what adjustments do you want to make heading into year 2 here?
So, I mean, heading into year 2, we wanted to make a change roster-wise. You're looking to upgrade things, and I think we were able to successfully do that. We've been very happy with all the new faces that are here, to help support the returning guys that know so much more than they did at this time last year. And I think probably to answer your question more specifically, we wanted a greater element of physicality. We still can do the skill things that we do, the tempo things that we do. We're going to utilize all of our people. We just felt like we wanted to build some more depth, and we wanted to be more physical this year, and that's what we're getting in camp so far.
To build on Ashley's question, quarterback and the portal. You're coaching a new quarterback again, probably next year as well, or however this works out with having a portal quarterback every year. Is it a positive or a negative installing with a new quarterback every year?
That's a great question. There are pluses to both, really, Jared, because I want a guy. You'd love to have a guy that comes in like we got Mabry Matoyer here, and we can start from the ground up and teach him the game of football, and then we can move into what we do. And what happens is hopefully those guys become, they're ingrained in your program, and they have a greater chance to be huge leaders here because they've built relationships with everybody. So that's the perfect world. And then you obviously are progressing those guys. And I tell them every year we're going to try to out-recruit their butt too, every year. Right? But when the portal guys come in, you don't have those benefits. You don't have those advantages. On the positive side to the portal guys, particularly with Tyler Van Dyke, That man's had 3 offense coordinators. He's been in 3 systems, learning something new, adjusting to something new. 1, there's not much he hasn't seen. And 2, he's so used to the learning process that the learning curve, just like it was with Tan and Mordecai, wasn't very long because you've got a veteran. It's not like we brought a portal guy in that was a sophomore who I really now have to deal with a different personality that doesn't know the system. So this was an advantage.
So how close are the schemes from the portal quarterbacks when they come? Is there anything drastically new that you would teach them that they haven't had some exposure to in the past?
You know, if you really look at offenses, they line up in different looks, but at the end of the day, people are running zone and they're running power and counter. I mean, that's what they do in the run game. There's so much more overlap than people want to admit. You know, this game is not, as you all know, better than I do, that there's so much overlap. And even though coming in here last year with what was supposed to be such a drastic difference in offensive style, now there are things that we run that everybody else runs that we'll run it a little differently. We got a little different flavor, a little different take on it. But football's football, and I think there's a lot more overlap. It's more about having depth and your guys being instinctive playing ball. And I think we're in a really good place right now with those 2 things.
Talk about the overlap in the run game, because when you came in, obviously all the Wisconsin fans said, are we going to throw the ball, can't run it anymore. You're running the same run game. How's the offensive line doing? It looks like they're deeper this year than they were a year ago.
We are deeper in every room than we were last year. You know, I told our players, I tell recruits, I tell our staff. In the last 12 years, which is 4 different places, we have thrown the ball 18 times more than we have run the ball. That's the total throws and runs in 12 years. And, you know, you try to explain that, but as soon as you hear the words air raid is a philosophy when we throw the ball. Where do we add that philosophy in the run game? We still want to run where there are less people. We're still trying to create a point of attack where there are fewer people. And so we adjust and we add that philosophy to both ends of the game. But the running game has been every bit as important in this offense over the years, and that certainly isn't going to change here at Wisconsin.
Coach, we'll get you out of here on this, but have to ask you more specifically about Van Dyke and what you've seen from him, because everybody thinks of him as a pure pocket passer, but you're saying that that's not necessarily true. He's been using his legs, extending some plays. What have you learned about him?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I don't know who declares what these kids are, okay?
These media people have no idea what they're talking about.
But no, I didn't say media people now, all right? But you get this pocket passer deal, and then you watch 3 years of film, and what you realize is nobody has really asked him to do anything. And that might have been philosophy of the offense. So it's not like they were doing anything wrong. I just think there are a lot more quarterbacks who can utilize their legs as a weapon. They don't all have to be Deshaun Watson or RG3, right? Date myself a little bit there probably, but they don't have to be those guys, but it doesn't mean they're immobile pocket guys that can't threaten the defense and can't be somebody that they have to worry about. And Tyler has proven that, and we've asked more of him, and he's so far has given it to us.
Coach, we feel your pain. We come to one practice and everybody thinks we're experts on that team. Have to watch them for 2.5 hours.
Well, I've been with ours for going on 2 years now, and I'm still not the expert on our team.
We're all learning. Coach, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Ma'am.
Good luck this year.
Thank you all.
Back here in Madison on the training camp tour, we talked to Mike Tressel about the new faces on defense, but in the secondary, he's got a couple of stars coming back. Hunter Wohler, homegrown player who stayed through the coaching change and put up some serious numbers last season. He and Ricardo Hallman, a menace to opposing offenses, but delightful in an interview with Howard. Take a listen.
Take us through what it's been like second time around in a defense rather that needs to be able to control and be aggressive up front.
Obviously, year one under a new staff and a new coach, there's always going to be growing pains, and there's always going to be stuff that you got to learn through together and figure it out. But now coming into year two, guys got a lot more confidence, just a better understanding of what we need to do, of how we need to get it done. Added some really good pieces this offseason, so I'm excited. I think the guys are loving where we're at. I think we're in a really good spot to attack this year.
What's it been like bringing new people into the system?
You know, I give the coaches, Coach Fick, a lot of credit for bringing in guys that fit the program. You know, they saw the needs, but they also saw the type of people that you know, excel around here, and the guys we brought in are great. Like they fit in instantly, great work ethic, and they just love ball. And you know, that's what we need if we want to get anywhere.
Yeah. How would you describe what this defense is all about?
I would say just grit. bunch of tough, smart, dependable dudes, who like to get after it. I think, like as Hunt said, going into year one, it's hard to get everybody acclimated. But going into year two, I think we have a lot more veteran maturity and a lot of confidence throughout the group. And as you guys can see out there today, out there flying around, having fun. And I just think the whole defense feeds off of each other. And then, so I would say a lot of smart, tough, dependable guys who are really gritty and really high energy.
How important are takeaways?
Oh, super important. We know as Coach Fickell makes a big emphasis on it almost every day. We're not going to win the game without takeaways. We need to have explosive and takeaways on defense. So just kind of reiterating that throughout our team, even starting our practice off with a turnover circuit just to get the juices flowing, causing fumbles, having interceptions, just all of those things. We know how important that is in winning games.
You guys went away last year, but this year you spent a lot more time. How does that help build the camaraderie with the team?
You get no distractions, and you just get to be around the guys 24/7. It's just
you still have your phone though.
I mean, yeah, but there's not many other times that it's all ball all day, every day. So I mean, it's great. We loved it. You love being around the guys and just hanging out. And obviously days are long, but there's nothing else to do. You're forced to be with the guys, which is the best part. It forces you to become close. It forces you to really build a team and a family. So I think I loved going away. I think it was beneficial for us for sure.
How close do you think you guys are to where you want to be opening day?
I think we're really close. Obviously, I think we still got some things we need to iron out, some details we need to fix, but I think we're really close. I think we're playing with very high intensity, very high effort, and I love that from the defense. The offense looks great as well. I think they're flying around too, so I'm really excited for opening day, and I think we're going to be ready for it.
What do you think about the offense, just how they progressed in the second year?
They look good. I think we have a lot of great athletes, a lot of great pieces that can make a lot of plays. And coming into this year, you see those guys being used in different ways and understanding that the weapons that we have and how we can give problems to other teams offensively. Coach Longo's been great over there. We've had a good amount of conversations and just what we see from them, what they see from us.
Conversations.
No doubt.
I mean, offense and defense actually talking.
Of course, got to have it. But no, I think the offense is in a really good spot, and I can't wait to see them, come the 30th, what they do.
Good job, guys. Appreciate your time. Stay healthy and good luck this year.
No, appreciate it.
Back one final time here in Madison, and the season inching ever so much closer. The Badgers open up with a Friday night game against Western Michigan on the Big Ten Network. A few weeks later, Alabama coming to Camp Randall. First time since 1928. Big noon kickoff will be there. Their first Big Ten game is 2 weeks after that at USC. Alex Grinch back to face his former team at the Coliseum. Home games against Penn State and Oregon. They've got some great games on the schedule. They'll, of course, miss Ohio State and Michigan, but pretty big measuring stick in week 3, Howard, when Roll Tide comes to town.
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity. You talk about being in training camp and really trying to build up to that game, and the opportunity is there for them to start to gain the momentum that they're going to need for that matchup. It's great that game's going to be here at Camp Randall, so that gives them some confidence as well. But they still have to go out and prove themselves and really get an idea of where they're going to be offensively and also on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I think today is one of the last major steps getting ready for the season. Big scrimmage. They were out there a long time. They're probably not going to bring the ball carrier to the ground from this point on. They're going to try to get into game plan as soon as possible. And then the schedule matches up with 2 opponents that they certainly match up with. And then obviously the Alabama game and then on it in the conference. So I think we saw a big day in Wisconsin's development getting into the season.
Yeah, big picture thoughts moving into year 2 under Luke Fickell. Again, we talked about the jump that he made in Cincinnati from year 1 to year 2. What are you expecting to see?
Well, I expect him to be closer to what he wants this program to ultimately look like. And I think that's on the recruiting trail. I think that's on offense, defense, and special teams. That second year, you get an opportunity to really get an understanding, a better understanding for where you are and what you want your program to look like. So he's made some adjustments that he's needed to. When you go on the field, you talk about adjustments. You mentioned it earlier, talking about being a major scrimmage, because it's great when you think about it. You're able to run around, but if you're not taking guys to the ground and you get to week 1 and you're struggling in that area, you start to second guess what you've done in your preparation. But I think doing it the way he's done it this year is really going to help this program.
Yeah, Howard, one of the most interesting things I think that Fick said today was not run-pass ratio of the offense, but more creative with what they're doing offensively. So, because a year ago, everybody's talking about, fix the defensive coach, and they've got the air raid, and you got Phil Longo coming in. The run-pass ratio is not an issue. Phil told us that historically they've only run the ball 18 less times than they've thrown, or whatever that stat was. I'm probably misquoting the stat, but he was making a point that we have been running the ball. But what Fick is saying is we want more creative ways to run it. So it's going to look a little different. We just won't know until we see it.
Yeah. One of the things that Fickell said that really stood out to me today was how when he was at Cincinnati, he saw how good the basketball team was, and he tried to do the things that they had success in, and he said that he's done the same thing here. So I enjoyed listening to him for this is the first time I've gotten to sit down with him, and you can tell he's really thoughtful in how he's approaching the program. Fire up the Landjet, guys.
Fire it up.
All right. We get to hang out for another few more days.
All right.
Buckle up.
Buckle up. Buckle up. Do you want to sing Adele to the goodbye? Or
I thought about that, and I was ready for that question, and the answer is no.
The answer is no. Okay, we'll try again next time at Michigan State, because that's where we are headed next. 3 stops remaining on the Big Ten training camp tour. Yes, we'll be with Sparty on Monday, eager to catch up with Jonathan Smith and see how things are coming along in his first fall camp in East Lansing. But our thanks to Luke Fickell and his staff for the access today. Terrific day here in Madison, and a huge shout out to Patrick Herb and Nate Jelinek for all the help behind the scenes. That does it from us in Madison. We'll see you next time in East Lansing.